welcome to Hammering the Point. I am your war boss, Toon Smasher. Followed here with the Commissar.
Hello.
And the Electro Priest, Jack.
Hello.
And
the entire point of this
baby.
podcast is we're going to be explaining the lore throughout the universe, hopefully in a digestible version of it, so most new people and veterans can like, and all that stuff. So hopefully you enjoy us doing this, and hopefully this is somewhat successful, because I don't really feel like wasting my time on this.
This is also very true.
In an ocean of podcasts, we are a gem. Don't you ever forget it.
That's something.
Well, what you might be wondering, what is Warhammer 40K?
It's the grim, dark future of humanity and their existence in a universe that's trying to kill them all.
It really is. So the grimdark future is kind of what Warhammer 40K is based off of. It takes first in the 41st millennium. It's a lot of lore to really go into.
Yeah, it ranges all the way from the Morning War to the 41st millennium in general.
The war in heaven, not the morning war.
Sorry, Mass Effect. God damn it, I'm breaking the mic.
Don't be doing that now.
He's breaking the stand more than the mic. Any hoosies with the big boobies. So the entire point of this podcast is us stumbling our way through the lore the best we can to make sure that you all understand at least some of our levels of it. I'm, out of most of them, know the most because I've been at it for, well, quite a long time. I primarily read the books, but I used to play the game. I've kind of been slightly disgruntled with the game, so I haven't picked it up in a long time, but I actively listen to a lot of audiobooks, so I know at least what's going on for most of the universe.
You're also the one that got me into it, too.
Yes, and I was the one who got both of my co-hosts into the 40K universe. Even though I much prefer the fantasy over the 40K, I will do my very best to explain what's going on with most of you.
We appreciate him being here.
Oh yeah, no, because you got me started with the tabletop because I love painting models. I love my orc boys.
Yeah, so we should start off with saying there's multiple factions in this universe. I'm staring at the Lexicanum right now, and I'll give you the quick run because there's a lot here. Imperium, which also makes up the Space Marines in a way.
Well, it's like Imperium of Mankind.
Yeah, and then there's the Astra Militarum, there's the Mechanicum, there's the Adeptus Sororitaris, the Inquisition, Chaos, which is its own. They even have Space Marines in there. Eldari, the Drukhari, which I believe is the Dark Elves. Yes, Jed?
Yes, the Drukhari are the twisted version of the Eldari,
which are basically space elves.
And then there's the Harlequins, which they're their own elves.
Space clowns.
Yeah. Then there's the Orcs, the Necrons, the Tau, the
spooky
Tyranids.
space scary skeletons.
Yeah, the Tower of the spooky scary skeletons.
No, that's the Necrons.
Sorry.
Jack. Shit.
Doesn't matter. And then there's the Tyranids, which are crazy space bugs. There's the Gene Stealer cults, and then the League of the Voton.
We don't talk about those. Those are the space dwarves.
Oh. Of course, that's fucking...
So basically, Imperium is basic humans. The army, which is known as the Astra Militarum. Space Marines are jacked up soldiers that the Emperor of Mankind made, which he was the one that led the humans, the Imperium, throughout. We'll get into more lore on that later on down the line. The Mechanicum live on Mars.
Yeah, they're my boys.
Well, started on Mars anyway. They're kind of basically...
They like to fuck toasters.
They do like to fuck toasters, but they are augmented humans that kind of turn themselves into machines. The Adeptus Sororitas is basically space nuns with guns. The Inquisition are angry librarians. Chaos is, of course, explains the name Chaos. The Eldari are basically space elves. Drukhari are basically bondage goblins of the space elves. Harlequins are the space clowns. as Commissar said. My orcs! And then you have which of course orcs are orcs. And you have Necrons, which are spooky space scary skeletons. Tau.
Space communists.
They are not fish. Tyranids, angry bugs. Gene Stealer cults are basically... what would you say, Commissar? Like a different... it's a variation of Tyranids, but they're like humanoid.
Yeah, the Gene Stealers are some of the very first enemies from Warhammer that were ever introduced. They're very classic, but they've reintroduced them recently as their own faction because of the way that Tyranids work. But yes, they're all falling under Tyranids. We can get into it. Another episode.
We don't need to ultimately get into the finer points of each military force. All you really need to do ultimately is the Imperium Mankind has multiple factions. They're a fascist religious state. The Eldar are a dying race of space elves, so to speak, and they've been split into 3 factions. The Exarchs, which are space elves that have dinosaurs, and they've decided to go back to the basic land element. There's the Craft World Eldar. They are the basic elves, so to speak. And then there's the Drakari, which are the dark elves. They are sadomasochistic. Then there's the orcs. They're broken into multiple clans, and they're a very violent, warlike race, so to speak. They're a very right makes might kind of style of society. There is the Tau,
Which is might.
who is the titular quote-unquote good guys of the universe because they believe in the greater good. They believe in unity and everything, so that's their whole deal. The Tyranid are a mysterious insectoid-like race that showed up one day, and they have a mighty need to devour everything they see, and that's kind of like their whole dealio with it. Then there's the...
They have a need to feed, and they only want sentient life. Or no, it's all life. Don't they just devour everything?
Pretty much, they just eat everything.
They go nom nom nom.
The whole planet.
If it moves, they eat it.
Yeah.
If
Then
it doesn't move, they eat it.
Chaos, which is a whole spiel we'll get into later, but they are dark parodies of a lot of things. It's more of your basic emotions that have been sent into extreme. And then I think that's all the factions, really. Oh, there's also
essentially 4 chaos gods.
There's the Necrons, which is a very old race who happen to look like metal skeletons. We'll get more into them, but they are more of a death cult than anything else. They just want to wipe the universe clean of all life, specifically sentient life. They could care less about most animals, but pretty much they're just there to wipe the slate clean when they wake up.
They believe that they're kind of the superior, but...
Yeah, they've got a grudge against the universe.
Yeah, but we'll definitely get more into that, actually, when we talk about in the next episode for the timeline. Kind of give a rundown of what you need to know, kind of what's going on.
But yeah.
At least the gist of it.
Next, I think we should probably talk about why we're all interested in Warhammer. No?
I'm fine with that. The reason why I got into Warhammer is because I just liked the lore of it, and ultimately I just started reading more into it, and I kind of fell in love with it. I ended up picking up the game for a bit. I played Space Marines as my first army, which was the Blood Angels, which is a Space Marine chapter. Then I kind of gave up on that army because I stopped playing for a bit, and then I started up an Imperial Guardsmen army.
And you let me use a looted tank for my orcs.
Yep, something like that. And then ultimately I ended up starting another army because I liked their lore, which is the Space Elves, or the Eldari. And the reason why I like it is because it was fun for a bit, but I've definitely been more of a lore guy than a game guy.
I love so the Commissar got me into it with tabletop. I love building and painting minis. It's therapeutic for me. It's enjoyable, a damn good fun time. But also, you can't go wrong with orcs. I have a huge army, but I also do have a Necron army for tabletop as well.
Please explain why you think you can't go wrong with orcs.
So essentially, they always win.
Good one. All right.
We'll
Even if they die, they come
into
back.
further why they don't actually win. They garner more L's than most people.
As long as they're fighting, they're winning.
I got into it because of the commissar as well. I really had a fancying for all things cyborg, and the AdMech were the ultimate cyborg, so that helped. And I also really like the painting of the miniatures, because the tabletop game has paintable miniatures, and that was a lot of the fun for me, was the hobby and craft of the game. But the lore is very interesting too. They get a lot of things right, they get a lot of things wrong when it comes to science fiction, but it's all very interesting.
It's a deep in-based lore too, because I mean, honestly, when you get down to it, there is over 200 novels.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and of course, I mean, there's also the games based on it, and tabletop doesn't really follow the lore. You can have matches that play out certain battles and all that, but I mean, even then, you're mostly playing on the written books, information, stuff like that. Which I mean, the codexes for tabletop do delve into a lot of information on that, like backstories, what's going on. Because honestly, a lot of what I do know about my orc boys is from reading the codexes, which I have mostly. I have the 8th and 9th edition.
There's actually 338 books.
Jesus fuck.
And codexes are rule books for specific factions, for those of you who do not know.
Pretty much. Codexes will do a general covering of the lore within the faction, and they will also show you sub-factions within the factions.
Yeah, it's a very expansive universe.
Primarily just there to teach you how to play the game and how to specifically play the faction that you choose. So be wary of that, because not all factions play the same.
Yeah, that's where I made my mistake. I used to love playing the AdMech, the Adeptus Mechanicus, my robot boys, but now I've learned that they're a specialty unit army, which is very complex. But yeah, the universe is endless. I mean, there's trillions upon trillions of just humans alone in this universe. So I mean, it's massive. The amount of. That's why we're here. We're here to help you break it down. But just know going in that we're not going to cover everything. And if you don't like some things about a faction, there's probably a sub faction, or you can make a sub faction, because the fans will do whatever they want.
Creating your own is pretty fun. I made my own dynasty for the Necrons.
Yeah, I know people who write entire backgrounds for their own, Space Marine factions, so...
That'd be another episode.
Obviously, but, it's insane how in-depth this universe is.
Or knowledgeable players can also write in whatever ones they like, too.
For the low
Email
price
us
of
at
$3.99.
youallsuck2@gmail.com. It's a real
we actually
email.
do have an email. It's hammeringthepoint@gmail.com.
Oh, dude, nice. I'll explain later.
And yeah, well, basically that kind of wraps up who we are, what we like, and
what this is.
so that was... The point has been hammered.
We're so doing a real script next time.
That's fine.
I heard that, but this is kind of